Knuckles Combat World.
Consider myself kingpin. I made my statement in my 2 other fights. It's about dishing out damage. I know everybody wants to see knockouts and people get put out, but every time I go out there, I'm gonna deal out an ass whooping, pretty much. That's the gameplay. Dish out an ass whooping. I don't care whether I finish you or not. You gonna know that you got that ass whooping at the end of the fight.
That's what it is. That's what it is. All right.
I was born right here where I'm at in Chesapeake, Virginia. I was raised pretty much in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I lived in a couple other states, but not for too long. My dad was in the military. And I started amateur fighting. Well, I started training when I was 4. They wouldn't let me fight, of course, until I was 8. Mm-hmm. From 8 to 11, I had like 57 amateur fights. And then I quit boxing and started playing baseball. And as everybody got bigger, Reggie stayed the same size, so there were guys that were cracking home runs, and I'm, only hitting RBIs and doubles. So I kind of just went back to boxing, and I loved boxing, but at the same time, it just didn't give me that thrill of, truly being in a fight. So, like I said, I did MMA when I was 18, got my ass kicked in like 30 seconds.
It happens.
I actually lost my first 3 amateur MMA fights, and I finished my amateur MMA career 15-5. So losing my first 3 fights, and I finished 15-5. That speaks for itself.
That's legit.
Well, it was like you said, it was a dedication. Mm-hmm. After I lost the first 3 fights, I knew I couldn't grapple, so all I did for a year and a half was grapple, until I felt sufficient enough to get back in there, at least hold my own. And when I could, nobody never wants to deal with the hands. And then they found out that I got jiu-jitsu, and they're like, holy crap. So I ended up with more submission wins than I ever did knockouts.
Wow.
They didn't want to stand up with me, and so I catch them in a submission, they'd be like, well, damn, I didn't know he knew that, too.
What was your first, as a kid, what was your first exposure to fighting? Was it watching a pay-per-view on TV, watching fights on TV, your family? What was it?
My dad was an all-Navy boxer in the 70s, and a national champion as an amateur. And so he kind of chose to do the whole, Navy career. And when he would go to the gym and train, sometimes, like I said, when I was little, he would take me. And then, I just kind of was a gym rat for a little while. And then, when I was old enough to fight, I begged him, and he was like, no. And then finally, I lost my first seven boxing matches as an amateur, too. Lost my first 3, and I finished tentatively 78-23 my amateur boxing career.
Woo!
So.
Wow.
That's all the ones that are, on record, because I did do a few, I guess what they call unsanctioned.
Yeah, the smokers, the old smokers.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Who did you look up to back when you were first introduced to boxing? Right, boxing was your first love for sure. When you were introduced to fighting, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but who did you look up to when besides your dad, for sure, that he was knocking people out, but.
Pernell Whitaker, of course, because he's from Virginia, where I'm from, and Roy Jones Jr. Those were my 2 biggest, as far as boxing idols. I wanted to mimic and be able to use their styles, in between each other.
Wow.
I felt like putting those 2 together would make this, an untouchable fighter. And sometimes I can do it and it works, and then sometimes I can do it and it doesn't. But, I actually trained with Pernell Whitaker when I was a kid for a little while.
What? How did that happen?
We were training at a gym down by the ocean front in Virginia Beach, and the gym closed down. So our team, we didn't have anywhere to go. So we ended up training at another gym out in Portsmouth. And at the time, what's that guy's guy's name, Spatafor or something like that. I can't think of his name. Now Whitaker was training him for a professional fight, and my dad was getting my godbrother and my cousin ready for the national pals. So, he didn't really I didn't qualify, so he didn't really have too much time for me. So Pernell kind of, pulled me aside and showed me a few tricks and stuff. And like a year ago, I ran into him up the street at the mall from my house, and I was like, hey, Sweet Pea, I was like, I'm trying to get this spin right. Can you show it to me? And he's like, oh, let me see. And I showed it to him. He's like, nah, your legs is too wide, So
Wow.
And so of course he was always one of my idols. Also in retrospect of his greatness as a fighter, but also a path that I shouldn't take in my life. Unfortunately, so I know when I finally reach that apex of stardom, the choices to make, I can kind of look at what happened to him and all that greatness in his life. So.
Yeah, it's a sad thing because Pernell Whitaker has to be on everybody's maybe top 10, top 15 all time for sure in his prime.
And I still always have the utmost respect for him. My story, I've gone through some things. I did a little bit of time in prison, and I'm on this incredible journey to be a world champion. So I understand and I can empathize with, a little bit of what he went through. So I'm just glad I got it over with early on in my career, and it is nothing but ass whoopings to dish out in the future.
For sure. But just going back to those two examples or those two guys that you looked up to, Pernell Whitaker and Roy Jones, I don't think that anybody can have, like, besides Ali or maybe Floyd in these newer generation. I don't know if there are two better guys than those two guys to look up to and to try to emulate. Because in their prime, Pernell and Roy Jones were pretty much
untouchable.
Yeah.
They were exactly they were untouchable. In their prime, they were untouchable. I feel like I'm coming into my prime. I'll be 33 this year. So I think I have another good 2 years in my prime where I'll really peak. And so this is really my opportunity, to seize everything that's in front of me as far as, this bare knuckle in this tournament. And so, as you see, man, that's why I train so hard and I work so hard, because you can't outrun Father Time in this sport.
True. Father Time is undefeated for sure. But then you see Roy, and Roy's still fighting. He's in his 50s and he's still fighting, bro.
I love Roy to death. I saw him a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago, at the Michael Williams Jr. fight.
Right.
And, he's a great guy if he wants to continue to compete. I big up on him for still training and, keeping the necessary regimen, because if you don't, especially when you get up there at that age, it becomes really, really dangerous. So, but,
yeah.
He looked pretty good in shape. You could tell he's still strong as hell. When he shook my hand, I was just like, okay.
Just imagine. I mean, it's pretty much the same story as you, because he started training as a young kid. And then just imagine you start training so young, and then you keep doing the same thing for 30 plus years, 40 years. You don't know anything else.
Yeah. This is all I really know is fighting. Like I said, boxing just hasn't really. I took a boxing match on 2 weeks' notice a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I went to war with Rafael Marzone, and it was a tough fight. I think one, because I didn't really prepare myself as much as I could in 2 weeks. We tried, but really just the weight cut, it killed me coming back down from 145 all the way to 130. No excuses, I made the weight. He actually didn't make weight at first,
Wow.
So, but I mean, it was a great fight. It went to war, and I hadn't boxed since 2017. I just really needed a fight before bare knuckle, just to feel that, because I lived to fight, and it had been so long because my last opponent didn't show up, and then they postponed the show. So, but it was a tough fight. It was a great fight, and I exposed a few things about Rafael's game. So, but I take nothing away from any fighter. I'm excited to see how he goes. Moving forward. For sure.
Then just take me on the road as a fighter, as the fighter you are now. You started training when you were very young. You did a little bit of MMA, well, a bunch of MMA really, and then you did a bunch of boxing too. How did the bare knuckle boxing game attract you, or how did it come about? Because it was legalized again not that long ago.
Well, I mean, as far as legal bare knuckle boxing, I'll just be honest. I've been in plenty of bare knuckle, scraps and fight, and I know. And like I said, there was a time in my life when I wasn't doing, making the best decisions, and I was kind of like, hey, Reggie, come on, we'll give you a couple $100, fight the guy,
Right.
So, and then as a kid too, I was bullied for a little while, and then finally that switch snapped, and I was like, all right, you're not going to bully me or anybody else. So, I got a couple of street fights, but I've always just loved, that bare knuckle hand-to-hand, combat. I feel like there is still no purest form of combat. Every shot hurts. Every punch counts. You can beat somebody over and over again with a boxing glove sometimes and still not get them up out of there. You can visibly see the damage that I have done to every opponent that I've gotten in there. And that's what really, really matters. So.
For sure. I think if you compare the two, boxing and bare knuckle boxing, I think the safest one has to be bare knuckle boxing. As far as brain damage, I'm not a doctor, but the amount of punishment you can receive with those big 8-ounce gloves or 10-ounce gloves is much more than with bare knuckles, because then you can get cut easier, or you can break your hand easier for sure on a bare knuckle fight, and maybe the fight gets stopped quicker.
Cuts heal. I got one right here. Cuts heal. Your hands heal. I broke both my hands in the first fight. Luckily I smart enough I didn't even break either one in the second fight. But brain damage doesn't.
Exactly.
Scars heal, hands heal, but brain damage doesn't.
100%.
And that's my standpoint when anybody says that, bare knuckle isn't safe. You're not subject to taking as much trauma to the head. One, because somebody can't continuously punch you in the head. This is fragile bones right here.
Mm-hmm.
Take those shots, So after somebody hits you in your head a certain amount of time, their hand is going to be more damaged than your head.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be able to hit you there. The gloves, somebody can hit you in your head repeatedly, and you be that tough guy that just keeps taking it, and then not wake up the next morning. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And it's so easy to, when you're bare knuckle boxing, you can catch an elbow, you can catch the top of the head, you can maybe catch a hip too with your hands, and that's gonna be pretty much the end of your fight.
I hit Travis Thompson on the hip with a straight left. I was trying to time him when he ducked down, and I missed, and I hit him right on the hip, and I felt every bit of it, and my hand was already broke.
It was?
Yeah, the second round, you go back and watch the first fight.
Right.
The very first one. In the second round, Travis is coming forward, and I step back, and I hit him with a left uppercut, right hook. Both shots were perfect, clean on the button. Well, I shattered this part of his hand, and I broke this part of this hand. And it didn't really start dawning on me until about the fourth round. I landed another clean, just beautiful 1-2, and I think it hurt me more than it hurt Travis.
I took my first time.
Yeah, and Bobby had warned me, he said, don't throw your punches 100%, and I threw that uppercut and that hook because I knew I had timed him perfect, did the right, so I thought I was going to get him out of there, but Travis Thompson touched on him a bit. Excuse my language, but, I mean, he just kept coming, and I hit him with everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, that was pretty much, at least that was my first, my introduction to Reggie Barnett. And that was actually Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 1. That was the first one, correct?
Yeah.
Were you guys the first fight of the card?
We were, I think, the fourth or the third. I know up until that point, all the fights had been knockouts, and I was like, I trained my ass off. This is my moment. I'm going to go out here and show out, and I hope Travis came to show out, too. And I just showed out a little better than he did that night. I
Right.
take nothing away from Travis. He's a good friend of mine now. He actually came down from where he lived at in Pennsylvania to watch my fight the other weekend up in Pennsylvania. So
That's an aspect of the fight game that people don't understand. Comparing it to other kind of sports, the respect that once the fight is over, most of the time, because then there's people that but most of the time, the guys, even though you can do all the trash talking in the world before the fight, but after the last round, after the fight's over, we're brothers again, and that's a beautiful thing. You don't see that in any other kind of sport, basketball, football, or whatever. But the combat game, all the different forms of combat, they have that in common, and that's something that's a beautiful thing. I think more people should pay attention to combat sports, be it bare knuckle boxing or other forms of combat, for sure. Just based on that aspect of the respect aspect, for sure.
oh, definitely, and we see it a lot more in bare knuckle too because it takes. Because you have great fighters out there. There are great fighters of all different disciplines out there. But it takes a special kind of person to willingly get in there knowing that
Yes.
I'm not coming out of this unscathed. That's like going into a knife fight. It's
Pretty much.
period, that you're going to get, you're going to get sliced some way, somehow. It could even be minuscule, but going into that knife fight that you're getting cut. And, your object is to cut your opponent more than they cut you. That's the same thing with bare knuckle. There's no way after you're coming out of it, unscathed. And so you have that much more, for me, I have that much more respect for my opponent. Because it's like, all right, bro, we have made a solid agreement. We're going to sit there and fuck each other up, excuse my language, and
True.
whoever comes out the worst is, but
True.
at the end of it, I still love you and I respect you as a human being, as a person.
Yeah.
And like I said, Travis is a really good friend of mine now. We made history together. Win, lose, or draw, we'll always have that.
True. How did bare knuckle boxing, bare knuckle fighting championship get a hold of you? How did that happen?
Well, they had the open call for their first tryout in Philly, I think in March of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might have been 16, I don't know.
Right.
The years kind of put together. And my manager contacted them and Dave Feldman, and I went up there to the tryouts. My other coach and my other sponsors, Match Belt, they funded the trip. And I went out there and showed out. And, when he finally got Wyoming to approve, that first event,
Mm-hmm.
he called me, hey, do you want to come fight at 135? And I'm like, I'm there, so. And the rest has been history. Just I didn't go to Cancun. That's where their last show was.
Right.
I was training for work. I still got a day job. I'm the average, American man, just chasing his dream. I still got my day job. But
What do you do?
I'm a termite technician.
That's not a joke.
Nah, it's a tough job. Some days absolutely suck, and then some days are like on Friday, my boss said, hey, come back to the shop, move these things around for me. He gave me one treatment, which took me about an hour and a half, and then said, come back to the shop and move this around for me, count these shirts, go home, clock out, get your 8 hours, So
Perfect.
you can't take, the good days, and then the week before that, we spent Thursday, Friday, and Saturday putting 30 tons of sand underneath the house,
Woo.
which I built a wheelbarrow for 2 days by myself. 30 tons, wheeled the wheelbarrow, shoveled it in the wheelbarrow, and then wheeled it around the house for the whole 2 days straight. 30 tons, 15 tons each day. And then I went to the gym and trained each day after that. So.
Yeah, that is another aspect that the common fan doesn't understand about the fight game and the young fighters that are coming up, or a fighter in that has a young career still has to maintain himself, even though you may have a couple sponsors or a lot of sponsors, but you still have a family. You still have your obligations. I spoke. One of my first guest was Houston Alexander, the MMA fighter, and he spoke about this too. He was telling me that at first, he, as a young fighter, he also had a tough job. He had a construction job too, so he was talking talking about that and explained that it's a different game, man. It's a different game when you are trying to push a career, but you still need to maintain your obligations. That's heavy, man. That's heavy, and that's commendable for sure. That's respectable.
Oh, I don't mind sometimes work days like that. I look at it as just an extra training day. So
You're a tough dude, man.
just an extra training day. I don't know. Like I said, hard work. My ring name is a conundrum. They call me easy because nothing in my life has been easy. Some of the things I've done to myself were so much harder than made things so much harder than they had to be. So I just believe that hard work and real dedication to whatever it is you're doing in life, it pays off in the long run. You might not see it immediately. So I think a few people on my team thought, after we had this first pay-per-view, whatever, our lives were going to change. And I'm like, no, we still got grinding to do. There's so much work to be done. And I'm cool with doing that work. I will get in the trenches and do that work any day. So, and that's what I'm going to keep doing. So I hope that my opponent is, working hard as I am. Because I like to be challenged, too. There's no point in fighting if I'm not going to be challenged. Yeah. I honestly want that hard fight.
Let's talk about your next fight, which is in April 6th, correct? Against
a little under 3 weeks.
Rusty Crowder, is that his name?
Yeah.
It's a part of the lightweight tournament. You guys are the lightweight tournament semifinal. Talk to me about him. How do you feel matching up against him? How do you feel your skills match up to him?
Unless in the last couple of months he's completely had a 100% turnaround in his skill. We're on different planets and levels as far as that goes. As far as toughness and grit, I take nothing away from. I know he's a tough son of a gun, and I know he's coming for me. Point blank and period. Everybody's coming for some reason. They're all coming for me. And in all honesty, I'm cool with that. I'm gonna win this tournament. When I went into Bare Knuckle, I had planned on winning this tournament. And no disrespect to Rusty, he's just another stepping stone that I have to go through to get to where I want to be. So
yeah,
I want to bring it though, and I'm cool with that. Because every time, like the Travis Thompson fight, no offense to Travis, it was a whitewash. And Clay Burns fight, Clay came out ready to freaking fight, and he busted my lip open in the first 20 seconds of the fight, and I stepped back and I looked at him and was like, oh, yes. Okay, the fight, all right, let's go then, and so we went to war for those first 3 rounds, and then I stepped back and I just let my skill set take over, and I finished up the fight, and so that's what I'm going to use to carry me through the rest of this tournament, and the fact that I know hands down I am a better, at least skilled fighter than the rest of the guys in this tournament. And that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to let that show. I'm going to let that shine through. So.
Yeah, for sure. And in the fights that I've watched, your fights that I watched on Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, it looks like your timing is always there. Like, you set the tempo of the fight. For some reason, you're always leading the fight, and the other guys are just following. I think you have a great style, even though it's bare knuckle. Everybody's gonna look all bloody and they're gonna look messed up most of the time after the fight. But it seems like your style, you don't take that much damage compared to.
No.
Yeah. You have great head movement. You have great body movement. You look great.
Hit and be hit, especially in bare knuckle. The object is to hit and be hit. Like I said, that whole knife fight thing, you expect you're gonna get sliced every at least once or twice, but you want to minimize the amount of times you get sliced compared to the amount of slicing that you do. So if we look at both fights, Travis Thompson fight, I looked exactly the same when I walked out of the third circle.
Mm-hmm.
The Clay Burns fight, he had 5 cuts on his face, I had 1. So if you judge the end of a fight based upon who was more bloodied and battered, I won the fight. So.
Yeah, and the structure also it's the whole bare knuckle boxing experience. At least this particular company, BKFC, the whole structure, the ring itself, it's really a circle, correct?
Yeah.
And the style that you have to toe the line to begin the
I
fight,
love it.
right?
I love it.
I love
Yes,
it too.
because it's like, imagine if, I know it's like the worst case scenario, you're out somewhere and some guy gets in your face and he starts, running his mouth or whatever. And I mean, so if we go scrap, we go scrap. Why not just start right there, ready to scrap? And I think, Travis wasn't ready for it. Clay was, so we kind of like crashed into each other at like 60 miles an hour.
Right.
So I'm in, and I'm not going to stop doing that. So I'm interested in to see, how Rusty deals with me coming off the line, at 100 miles an hour. Because I'm telling you now, Rusty, I'm coming off the line at 100 miles an hour. So you already know. Nothing is going to change.
Yeah, it's a whole another thing. I think that there's a bunch of different ways to look at it, but I think bare knuckle boxing, BKFC, this company, it gives you that experience. I love it. I don't know. I love the whole thing.
It's as far as the production, as far as the management of the fighters, the business aspect of it, promotion, all that. Dave Feldman and his team do a great job. I watch the other bare knuckle companies, because I just want to see, who their best fighters are.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched ones over in Europe. I've watched a couple of other ones, here in America that are starting up. And of course, we know one of them went under and didn't even pay all their fighters.
Yes, true.
So they are hands down the best on the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
It is the bare knuckle promotion, out there. I'm not saying that just because I'm one of their fighters. If I was fighting somewhere else, bare knuckle, I'd be like, man, how do I get over there, to fight with them guys? But so I'm fortunate enough to be a part of the team. I'm so grateful to Dave Feldman and all, his team for, keeping me, part of it, including me in, every event that they could. I mean, they offered for me to come out to Cancun and make an appearance, and just hang out for the weekend.
Wow.
I had stuff going on for work, I had just getting a new promotion and getting my recertification. And like I said, I'm still family man. I still need all that little extra money, that raise, you know what I'm saying?
It's important.
Yeah. So when they're like, hey, we need you to do schooling for a couple of weeks, or, you could spend one weekend in Cancun, I'm like, well, in the long scheme of things, that raise is going to help me out more. And I love bare knuckle. I will always support them. So, and it's growing, it's only getting bigger. They're pulling in great names, and I'm excited that Dave is doing that, and I'm cool with Dave doing that. But at the end of the day, I know that out of all the great names that he's pulled in, there's going to be my great name that emerges from it, and I'm cool with that. I'm just waiting on my moment in time. And like I said, I'm just going to keep training my butt off and go in there and fight. And put on a show.
So are you going to stay in lightweight? Do you feel good at 135?
Yeah. I mean, I normally box at like 128, 130.
Wow.
So, yeah. So the power difference, I think, has been a little different. I mean, I did MMA at 135, and I always felt like I was just getting tossed around. I made 125 once, and like it sucked. And so I'm one of those guys who's like really right in the middle of that weight class. It's either I can push really hard and make the 125 pound limit, or I can just float and stay at 135 and sacrifice a little bit of power. Because those guys are coming down from 145-ish, So this time around, we're trying to get stronger. The first 3 weeks of camp was nothing but strength training. And we put on a little bit of extra percentage of muscle. And so hopefully we won't have to, throw punches 100% and still get the job done and added a little extra kick behind it.
A little juice for sure. How are you 3 weeks before the fight? How's that weight coming? You don't have to tell me a number, but how are you weight wise? I'm
not. So I'm okay with telling you a number. I was 143 today. So
that's not bad. That's not bad because you're going to fight at 135. Yeah, that's not bad. 8 pounds?
I don't know.
You're good, bro.
I have this motto: a real fighter always stays 10 pounds within his fight weight. Period. You
Agreed.
eat, you live, you train. Your lifestyle should keep you within 10 pounds of your fight weight. A weight cut should never really kill somebody, you know. And see, I was accustomed to fighting at 135 for bare knuckle. So when they were like, "Oh, can you do 128 pounds?" I was like,
Man.
"We do 129," and they're like, "Yeah, you could do 129." You know, so I plus that pound, I made 130. But it was still like I wasn't. My lifestyle wasn't dictated that I was maintaining, you know, no higher than that 140. I was walking around 45 pounds, 146 sometimes, and because I was eating a lot of protein, trying to be stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems in all combat sports. So I always talk about this with my guests. There's two problems in combat sports. There's a weight problem. Maybe not in boxing as much because there's more divisions, but certainly in MMA for sure. There's a weight cut problem, and the other problem would be judging. There's a serious problem in judging and in boxing and in MMA too. How do you see, just of your experience?
Always. I mean, we know that some instances that boxing is politics, you know, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we see a lot of cases of it in MMA nowadays. So the best thing that a fighter can do as far as judging is don't leave it in the hands of the judges or leave no doubt, as my mom says. That's what my mom tells me. She said, even if it goes to decision, leave no doubt. Like the Marzan fight, one of the judges had it scored like, what was it, 6-round fight? He had it scored. I mean, it was just outrageous. Like completely out. We're like, yo, what fight were you watching, bro? Because the other judges had it scored 57-56.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like, bro, what fight were you? But we know it was not taken away. I was in his hometown, you know, and it was his backyard, and I didn't leave any doubt, you know. It could have went either way, you know. So I always say, one, leave no doubt, or finish the fight. You know, I will go for a finish all the time, but at the end of the day, like I said, bare knuckle is about skill, and I will always make sure that my skill set shines through, and that I have left no doubt that I have beaten my opponent.
True. True. You know what I think the problem is? I think most judges have never been punched in the face. I think most judges.
I know some that have, but most of them that are where they're at, you know, have, you know, really been behind the desk most of the time, you know, so they don't really know, you know, what it feels like to go through, you know, to have to dig deep, you know, in those late rounds, you know, or to get, you know, rocked with a shot and then come back with a whole bunch more shots, you know, a judge will see a dude take one big shot and that's it, you know, like that's all they focused on the rest of the round, and they'll miss all the work that the guy who got hit with that one big shot put back in, you know. So,
yeah.
I mean, it depends on what the judges are looking for. And then as far as weight, like I said, you know, stay within 10 pounds of your weight class. And if you can't make that weight anymore, then you need to move up and bulk up. Straight up. Move up and bulk up. My fiance was just telling me a report of some guy who suffered liver damage and was rushed to the hospital recently. Or, you know, I hadn't even seen that article. That's how much in tune in fighting she is with me. You know, like I hadn't even seen that article yet. And her concern for me is always, you know, weight cutting. Like whenever I tell her I'm going to the 120, I get that Hispanic, that Puerto Rican woman look, you know,
yes.
That little bit of cursing and mumbling that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I prefer like to take those fights. Now I know, you know, I'm going to have at least 60 days between them, you know, so I can put myself in that range to be within that 10 pounds. But fighting at 135, like I said, you know, I wanted to bulk up a little bit. I want to be able to push those guys around.
Good. So you feel comfortable at 135. You don't think you need to move up.
Nah.
Good.
Now, if they offer me to move up to fight somebody special, then yeah, I'm going up. Definitely, I would move up. Even if we had to meet in the middle at 140, I'm down to fight anybody. So
yeah, that's.
I'll never turn down a bare knuckle fight. Whoever they put in front of me. I said it when I first started this journey, and I'll stand by it today and every day. I truly believe and know in my heart that in a hand-to-hand fist fight, no man on this planet can beat me at 135 pounds.
Wow. That's how you have to come into this game. You can't have any type of doubt. You have to be, that's why combat athletes are special, because you're crazy enough, but to really get into that mindset and understand that you're invincible until someone proves you wrong. But you have to come into the training camp and the day of the fight and live your life as if no one can touch you. That's the key. That's the key, 100%. How do you see the sport growing so much? Because it's growing a lot, right? Bare knuckle boxing, it's growing a whole lot, and it's a good thing. I like it.
I feel like pretty soon here. I don't know, maybe within. Because he has a lot of events planned for this year. I know that, and then of course we're gonna have the end of our tournament. Whoever I fight between Abdul and Johnny Bedford.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna keep growing, man. And hopefully, they'll be getting the draws that the UFC, used to get. When it was truly, truly in its heyday before, because now we see they have, all those little extra, UFC Fight Pass and Fight Zone. They air all those other fights now, and that's because UFC doesn't have that draw like they used to have, for specific pay-per-view events, unless they truly, truly have super, headliners. Some people don't even, I talk to people who I grew up doing MMA with and, boxing with who always used to be the biggest UFC fans. I'm like, hey, man, you going to watch the fight tonight? And they're like, oh, man, I need to worry about it, So I'm seeing the exact opposite for Bare Knuckle. We're going to start drawing those people over. And Davis made the right move by pulling, people from those other industries, those other organizations, over to kind of draw the attention from, people who used to watch those. And then, like I said, you have us fighters, who aren't really heard of or aren't really known that are getting a chance to emerge and make a name for themselves. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. By the time, Bare Knuckle is on its 10th show, everybody's going to know. Like, they're going to know that I was, started off at the first one, and now here he is, the reigning 135 pound champion. And after the Bare Knuckle title, I'm going across the water and taking their titles.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
The goal was to be when they said you could do legally sanctioned bare knuckle fighting here in America. I said, that's it. This was, thank you, God. You brought me back from complete, utter hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And now you put something in front of me that I can change lives with, and let people know that no matter what you go through, that you can, if you work hard enough for something, if you believe in something, that the doors will be open for your dreams. I get to live mine. I love them. I love those lights, man. Just being out there, in that bare knuckle square circle, even before the fight starts.
Yeah, I think it's the way that the product itself is being presented. Because with bare knuckle, you get the wrong impression that it's just a street fight, and I love what Dave has done with the product specifically. The effort that and the whole, I think he put a whole lot of money into it too, but the effort and the presentation of the product, the way everything's designed, the commissions are doing a great job, I think, and yeah, hopefully the crowd keeps growing, and hopefully people give it the respect it deserves. Not only because you guys are going in there, and it looks and it is very damaging to your body, but also
and it's an art form though. It's an art form.
yes,
You
yes,
see people, and you can get on YouTube or something, and you'll see like street fight compilations or a street fight video, and it'll have millions of views.
true,
It'll have millions of views.
true, that's
Because
true.
people want to see it, right? So what's the difference between tuning in between two skilled people doing the same thing, at a higher level? If you're going to tune in and watch two idiots in the street, fighting over a parking space,
True.
am I wrong now?
That happens
Right?
all the time. All the time.
All the time, And they'll have millions of views. Why not tune in to watch some of the best fighters from different freaking, retrospects of fighting,
Mm-hmm.
eat hand to hand, on a higher level. And so that's my pitch when anybody asks me, either that or you been in a street fight before? I was like, did people circle around and watch? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I get paid to do that. So,
True. Yeah, and it's done the right way. You're sanctioned. You're in a circle. You have cut men. You have doctors.
Oh yeah. It's still he takes all the precautions to make sure that we're safe. Because we do still want to live to fight another day. And you as much as you want to see the blood and the goriness a little bit, you still want to make sure your fighters are taken care of. So that when it's time to come back and compete, they can come back and put on another great show.
For sure.
I mean, look at Travis Thompson. Because he was pretty beat up after that first fight. I was a little like, damn, I wish he would have just quit. That's how I felt. But he came back, he bounced back, he went to Cancun, and he got an astounding knockout over Ivan Rocket. And so that's from the way they take care of us as fighters. They really make us feel like family, and they put other fighters, like I said, from other organizations who are still skilled, still good at what they do, in the right places to be ambassadors of our sport. If you just pulled two ordinary Joes from the street and were like, hey, we're going to pay you, chump change, go in there and put on a bare knuckle fight, and they put a whole bunch of those on. Nobody would want to come see that shit.
Nope.
Not pay to see that shit.
Nope.
I wouldn't want to come see. Like I said, I can wait long enough and there'll be a YouTube video or something, and I could watch it there, rather than, it's packaged beautifully. We have, some great fighters on our roster, and so I'm excited to continue to grow with it and watch it grow. April 6th, I'm going out there to put on a show. Anybody who's ever seen me fight knows that win, lose, or draw, I'm coming to fight. I never not come to fight because I live to fight. And so I'm excited to go to work against Rusty Crowder.
For sure. Did you watch the Mikey fight? Mikey Garcia, Errol Spence?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you believe beforehand that it was going to go that way, the way it went?
Not at all. I thought that it would be a little bit more competitive. I don't know exactly what happened to Mikey Garcia. Nobody will know really but him in his corner. But we all know, kind of like I felt coming out of my last fight, like I just kind of froze, and I did not fight to my capability. And that's what I saw out of Mikey. Whether he would have won or not, even if he did, we don't know. But at the same time, I know that he is way better than he fought. And at certain retrospects, I don't think Errol Spence completely baffled him and did anything that he had never seen before. Yeah. If that makes any sense, the way I'm saying that.
That makes a lot of sense. I thought like you also, and a lot of people from the combat world also before the fight, they all thought that Mikey was gonna pull it off. I thought Mikey was gonna win a relatively comfortable decision, maybe 116, 112, or 117, 111, something like that. But I was concerned beforehand because this was Mikey's first fight at 147, coming from 135, and he had a couple of fights at 140, if that, because he fought Broner at 140, and that was it. He never went above 140, and to go his last fight was in 135, and to go all the way to 147, and not to just fight average fighter at 147. He went up there and fought one of the beasts at 147.
Yeah.
And I think that was a mistake. That's what I think. I think as great as Mikey is, you can't just jump 2 divisions and fight one of the best guys in that division. That's what I think.
Not unless you're going to show up to truly fight. I mean, there were points in there where you could see some of the greatness that Mikey Garcia has had at the lower weight classes start to come out. And it may have just been, like you said, the size advantage, going so high. And then, like, he just kind of put it back in the show. And so, I mean, Errol Spence did his job. I mean, it was a wipeout. 100. I think I gave Mikey Garcia the second round, and that was just kind of it. And then the rest of the fight, it was him getting, decimated.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got heart. You can't take that away from him.
True.
But I know I've seen him compete, way much at a higher level.
Yeah. I think we all had the wrong idea. Maybe because we haven't really seen Spence fight the greatest level of competition yet. He did look great against Kell Brook. He stopped Sean Porter. But, I mean, Lamont Peterson. I'm sorry, Lamont Peterson. He stopped Lamont Peterson.
Hold on, wait. I'm like a boxing historian, and I keep stuff in my mind. So when you said that, I'm trying to find that reel in my head.
I'm sorry, Sean Porter. Who, by the way, Sean Porter can make anybody at 147 look bad. Sean Porter is one of those guys that he beat Danny Garcia 2 fights ago. It was tight, but he definitely beat him.
Do you really think he got this the other night?
I don't know, man. It depends on what you're looking for. You think that he didn't beat Ugas, right?
I don't know. Like, I couldn't really give him the fight.
Yeah, it was tight.
It was a close fight. Some people say, well, you got to go and get the champion, and then some people say you have to solidify why you are the champion. So I don't know. I will say, I've always been, a fan of Sean Porter, and of course I respect him.
For sure.
He's world champion. But I think that wasn't one of his best performances.
I agree. Well, he did have a problem with the weight, right? The night before. He was having trouble. Yeah, that could have been it too. But he looked pretty good. I think of all the fights that we've seen that were wrongly ruled a draw, I think this one could have gone a pass as a draw. I think for sure. Speaking of draws, do you remember? Do you want to keep talking boxing just for a little bit more?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure. Do you agree with the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight? I know it's been a whole bunch of time since that fight took place.
I feel like the whole fight was crap. So,
why?
Big ass men with not a bit of skill for real. So if I was that size, oh my goodness, I'd have been like an 8-time world champion.
Really?
Yeah.
They
have all that size and no real skill behind it.
You think so? You think that about?
Yeah, I look at some of the smaller heavyweight champions of the world, and they were real skillful fighters.
Mm-hmm.
They're just big and they go in there and hit people really hard. Look at Anthony Joshua; he's actually skillful. He's a big, skillful guy, and that's why nobody really wants that work from him for real.
You think he beats Tyson Fury?
Yeah.
How dare you? You think he does? Like easily?
Yeah. I think he gets tested for a second there, like he did in the Klitschko fight, and then he's going to let his skill rise to the occasion.
Wow, I didn't expect that. I thought you were gonna think that maybe Tyson could get a little bit of the better of him, but I think Anthony Joshua is very, very skilled for sure. I think he's gifted actually.
What hasn't been, what we haven't really seen from Joshua yet, though, is his heart. In that retrospect. Because you can't teach that.
No.
And he's never really truly been tested to that retrospect. I think Fury is going to give him that, and we'll see, like I said, either his skill's going to rise to the occasion, or what you're hoping for, Fury keeps him in that muddy water.
Yeah. I think we're gonna go if that fight ever happens, we're gonna go back to this podcast and we're gonna record again and after that fight, if that ever happens, because I don't know, because now Tyson Fury signed with ESPN and that whole deal, because I don't know if that's gonna happen. That's a fight that those three guys, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and Tyson Fury, those fights should have been cooked a long time ago. And
yeah, but we know that boxing is about money. It's about politics. It's not about the best fighting the best most of the time.
Yeah.
Not like it was in the early during the 80s and the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The guys didn't pick when they were going to fight the so-called the other best. They fought them when they were at their best. And I'm not going to discredit any other professional athlete's accomplishment, but I feel like some of the early 2000 era fighters, they picked and choose when they were going to fight the other so-called best fighters, and not when they were in their prime, or when it would truly be a great matchup. So.
Yeah, I think boxing needs some help. I think it needs less promoters and less politics, and I don't know.
I'm not a fan of boxing. It's just something that I do because I've always done. Now, I'm a fan of bare knuckle. Like I watch bare knuckle all over the country. I watch the underground bare knuckle, the mainstream, all that, So I've always been a fan of bare knuckle fighting. I've been a fan of Bobby Gunn since I was a kid.
Oh, Bobby Gunn is a legend, man.
So when I met him at the tryouts, it was nostalgic, and and this is something that I don't even care if Rusty steals it, whoever steals it. This is something that I live by now that I got from Bobby Gunn. He said, you have to do the things that you would not wish upon your worst enemy to yourself. He said, when you are willing to do those things, to go through that pain, and to push through what you wouldn't wish on somebody else, he said that no man on this earth will be able to defeat you.
Those are wise words, and that's true. All that is true.
And so that's how I train. That's how I live. I will put myself through what somebody else doesn't want to be bothered with, somebody else doesn't want to go through. Because at the end of the day, I know that I've already beaten myself up so much that there's nothing that you can do to me, to deter me, to break my will. And you back that with a decent boxing skill set, nobody in the sport is going to beat you. Not going to happen.
I love that. We're all gonna follow your path on the bare knuckle boxing world for sure. I know I am, and I'll try to put more eyes towards towards you and towards the sport for sure, as much as I can. Do you want to plug anything? Your social media, your sponsors? What do you want to do?
You can find me on Instagram at EAZ_E easy. Of course, on Facebook, Reggie Barnett Jr. I want to shout out to all my great sponsors: CryoMax, Think Big, Match Bout, Exit Realty, where my sister Ebony works. She sponsors me. My family is 100% behind me. Of course, all my coaches, trainers. Thank you so much for having me on and just allowing me to, continue to share my story. I tell everybody, and my biggest quote is, we're only limited by the manifestations that we create for ourselves. Nothing in this world is unaccomplishable unless you don't really want to accomplish it.
100%.
And I'm living proof of that. I've been from the lowest of the low, and my apex isn't even gotten here yet. And I just want to inspire other people to chase their dreams. So thank you for allowing me. My wife just gave me the look too. I hope you know that's why I looked over there.
I know. My Puerto Rican senses were tingling.
Yeah, she came around the corner and gave me the look like, you still ain't even taking a shower yet.
Yeah.
I got 5 a.m. sparring tomorrow.
All right, it's all good. I'll let you go. Yeah. No woman hits harder than a Puerto Rican woman.
Oh, trust me, I know.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I would love to have you here again. Thank you so much.
Anytime, just let me know. I'm always down. We can talk boxing. We can talk bare knuckle. We can talk mixed martial arts. Hey, whatever, I'm always down. I appreciate the support. It's really nice meeting you, man.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, sir.